sit back, listen, enjoy the vibe. Sip something, light it up, enjoy the ride. Cause the Sports City chefs is on tonight. In the kitchen cooking up, they on the ride. Sports City, chef, chef. Sports City, chef, chef. Sports City, chef, chef. Sports City, chef. Yes, Lord, we got a brand new president. Joe Biden, we riding, I pray you heaven sent. Word from the wise, my people stay ahead. Come on, I've been relevant, trying to survive the elements. It ain't no love in these streets, these dudes telling it. Case go from cold to hot, safe evidence. Kaboom, Sports City chefs is in the room. Cooking up hot topics to put up on your spoon. They well in tune, blown like a flower in June. Superman verse MF Doom, the clouds loom. So tell a friend it's the Sports City chefs again. Pay attention, tune in, we on the set again. Sports City, chef, chef. Sports City, chef, chef. Yeah. Cabin, Taj. Woo! Connecticut.
Yes. Welcome to Sports City. It's your boy Sirius back at the helm. And yo, look, I got my family with me, man. Villain, talk to the people, man. How we doing this evening, sir?
We are good. Villain is in the house. It is Villain Day. It is my birthday, so I am chilling.
It is
like
your
a
birthday.
What's going on, fam?
Good, man. Breaking news is back in the building, man. What's going on, breaking news? How we doing today, sir?
Doing fantastic, boy. Obviously, first and foremost, happy birthday to the villain. You know what? We got some superheroes in here. We needed the villain back. So, villain, happy birthday, my friend. And I'm just blessed and happy to be here with you boys.
Good, man. Good to hear from you, Brian. And yo, TP is back in the building, man. What's going on, TP? How we doing this evening, sir?
I done took off the blazer, loosened up the tie, stepped aside. The kitchen timeless is alive. So look up in the plane. It's a bird. It's the sky. Nah, it's sky. I'm in the building, and y'all know the reason why. Let's go, man. It's a lot of sports to jump into for the month of January. It feels like Christmas some more.
Yo, and before we even get moving, we got a friend of the program in the building, man. We call him Controversy. Greenwood's in the building. What's going on, my guy? How we doing, sir? Controversy?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. How y'all doing today?
We are good, sir. We are good, man. We are good. Pleasure to hear from you guys, man. Before, man, we get going, man, I wanted to give a shout out to my man, J-Rod, from, I forget the name of his podcast, but he helped me design the logo and the intro and everything. So shout out to my man, Jared, man, helping me out get this thing off the ground. But with that being said, we got a lot to talk about, man. And I wanted to start with the championship game from yesterday. Michigan emerged victorious and managed to beat Washington. And I wanted to kind of get you guys' take on what you guys thought from the football game yesterday. Villain, I'll start with you, man. What do you think from the football game yesterday?
Yeah, shout out to Michigan. I didn't think they would pull it off. I didn't think I thought they would be able to pull it off, but it's been a long time coming for Jim Harbaugh. I keep saying John. Everybody says John instead of Jim. But it's a long time coming to see where he came from, where I think like 3 or 4 years ago, we were on shows together and we questioned if he was going to be the Michigan coach going into next season because he hadn't beaten Ohio State. Now he's beaten Ohio State to the point where, Rich Day might lose his job. Now he's gone to the playoff 3 consecutive years, lost to Georgia, lost to TCU last year, but now he beat Alabama. He won the national championship. So shout out to Michigan, shout out to Harbaugh, and shout out to those kids. It was a long time coming. It's a process, and they left little doubt. They played a good game, especially defensively. They dominated the line of scrimmage, confused Penix, and they're holding up the trophy today.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned a lot that I wanted to double click on, but for the sake of time, I'll pass the ball. Breaking news, man. You saw what took place yesterday with Michigan getting that dub, man. What'd you think about it, sir?
Yeah, I think Barry hit the nail on the head, man. Michigan, I think that we often downplay how good Michigan is. People say, "Oh, McCarthy's a okay quarterback," or "Oh, their running game is okay." Like, no, you know what their superpower is? Since we have the villain in the building, their superpower is the trenches, boys. Their offensive and defensive line dominated. I mean, they were picking up 4 or 5 yards a carry before the running backs are even being touched. And by the way, I want to make sure I get the kid's name right, so I'm going to quickly look down at stats here. I apologize, boys. Donovan Edwards, man, you guys know this cat's been injured all year long. He was supposed to be a major factor this year, and he was injured all year long. Didn't have over 50 yards rushing in any game all year long, and breaks 2 40-plus yards runs in the first quarter to crack this game open. And there was a lull there in the second and third quarter where there wasn't a lot that got going. And then the fourth, you saw a lot of the same. But listen, this is the same thing that we were talking about when they played Ohio State. What did I tell you guys? What I'm afraid of is Michigan is going to run all over Ohio State. It was the exact same thing. Not only did they run for over 300 yards, boys, this was the first time in 10 years in the national championship game that we've had 2 rushers from the same team eclipse 100 yards. Like anything they wanted to do was working. McCarthy didn't have to do a whole lot. Penix had to throw the ball 50-plus times, which, as you guys know, probably not a winning formula. I want to say the lead running back, and I don't have the stat in front of me, for Washington, I want to say the kid ran for less than 35 yards. It was a very, very low total. So you put that all together, and what it tells you is, at least in my opinion, and this kind of leads into your next segue, so I'm not going to spill the beans, I feel like Harbaugh's done everything that he can do here. Like, you talk about the adversity. You talk about where this team was. Remember, you guys remember the guy named Brady Hope? Like, think about what a laughing stock this program was not that long ago. Like, this program has literally made a 180, is literally the absolute creme de la creme of NCAA football. And by far, the biggest strength of this team, like I said, is the trenches. The offensive and defensive line is ridiculous. And that's 100% due to Harbaugh and his coaching staff. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I definitely feel you. I wanted to pass the ball to Thomas really quickly because, again, you're saying a lot, and I'm definitely eating up what you're selling. Thomas, what did you think, though? I mean, Brian gave us a lot, but hold on a second. Before we do that, I want to bring someone to the stage that had a very special announcement. Today is Villain's birthday, and I needed to take a break in the program real quick.
Ooh.
Oh, happy birthday, babe!
Happy birthday to you!
Happy birthday to you!
Happy birthday, dear villain! Hey,
Happy
man.
birthday to you!
That's right. Happy 21st, brother. Happy 21st.
Yeah, no, I'm 43, man. It's all good. It's all good. I'm blessed, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Look,
Thank you,
I got it just for you.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Hey, that was the best caller we could have had right there. That's awesome.
You already know. Thank you so much, Miss Shay.
Thank you.
All right.
guys. Later.
All right, then, man. All right.
Man. I hope I get a listen, my birthday's February 9th, man. I hope I get a special guest call in like that.
I hope so.
Right?
But anyways, Thomas, back to you, man. Villain and breaking news came up with some things that they saw in yesterday's game. I wanted to hear how you thought about it.
Well, first and foremost, since I've been running around with y'all since September to like January, y'all have never shown anything out of Michigan this much love before. Hopefully, y'all could do this on Sundays. But anyway, as I proceed, I don't want to fall off track. You know what I'm saying? But look at how they all smile. Like first base picture, that y'all bear witness. Y'all bear witness. Okay, so I gotta give Michigan and Harbaugh their credit up to this season as the last I want to say 4 or 5 games is where they really overcame their 3 year bubble, I want to say, because every year that they play strong football. They get into the latter part of the season and fall apart. Something will happen. TCU or previous seasons before that, they lose in the game against Georgia, get blown out, and Aiden Hutchinson goes out on a bad note, losing to Georgia that bad. But this year, basically acclimated everything that they went through, and they overcame that adversity and beating Alabama, where it was a fourth down play at the 3 yard line. And what bothers me is how bad the center was that they didn't try to adjust that situation, but the ball was snapped low and Miller had to go, and Michigan's defensive line crumbled that hole before you get through there. They stuffed them. So it's kind of like they were ready for this opportunity to win this game, let alone it was in the middle of the Rose Bowl. Now you get to the national championship, and it's like, do they fall apart going up against a very hot team coming out of the Pac-12 in Washington? And as the game started, you could ask Barry, because I was in a chat with him. I seen it happening, and I was like, the game is over. Early, I saw the game being over, because the one thing that I had to look at through all of the games Washington's played, they've been battle tested in the Pac-12. They've gone through their adversity against Pac-12 teams. They didn't play the widespread of the league, where I'm balancing the Big Ten versus the Pac-12 is I feel like there's good competition in the Big Ten. I mean, there's good competition in the Pac-12, but comparison to like Ohio State and them, that the argument is going to favor the Big Ten. And Michigan's been here so many times too. So, and they just beat Alabama, so it makes that tough. But the one thing that they couldn't stop, Blake Corum deserved that offensive MVP in that game. And another unsung hero that nobody will give credit to, and I could hear it now amongst us, J.J. McCarthy deserves his stripes. Yeah, I don't care what nobody says. J.J. McCarthy earned his stripes. That third down play was like 3rd and 10. Everything fell apart. He screamed at the right time. Some quarterbacks that are mobile that need to make the play just take off because they have the speed to do it, or just know that one-on-one against the linebacker, they have to run one direction and make that happen. All he did was run straight up the field and picked up like 40 yards. That was his longest run of the season, they said. And he's a mobile quarterback. And for him to make that happen, especially while the running game was precise and the passing game was just as efficient as possible, Washington was in an uphill battle, and let alone Penix was getting hit. And, I felt like he's seen a lot of pressure from Rome Odunze, his best receiver. Rome was making catches. He missed Rome on that big pass in the corner by himself. He basically touched the ball, but couldn't complete the catch. Other than that, Washington, I felt like they were befuddled. And the one question still remains, especially in big games, is Pac-12 defense has to step up. We can't really think of a strong Pac-12 defense since Palomalu and Brian Cushing and them back in USC. Other than that, you're going to pick a name here or there, but can't give me any real stout defenses out of the Pac-12, and they needed that up against a Michigan team. So I got to give Michigan their credit. The asterisk part, I'll leave for another day, but they got it done. Harbaugh gets this monkey off of his back.
It's funny you mentioned that, because for me, Timeless, as a Penn State fan, I detest Michigan and Ohio State, but primarily Michigan. And honestly, I have to give credit where credit is due, because through the adversity that Michigan has faced this past year and this past year alone, we can sit there and talk about what took place in previous years, them getting to the playoffs and getting bounced, or Blake Corum not playing, or whatever the case may be. But for them to deal with what they had to deal with this year, playing the crush of their season, they played Penn State, they played Ohio State without their head coach, and they found ways to win. And then for them to go up against another juggernaut in Alabama, and beat them in the manner in which they did, was nothing short of spectacular. Now, again, I'm like everybody else. When I saw Edwards bust that second touchdown, I'm sitting here, I'm actually talking to Barry at the time. I'm like, yo, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Because honestly, at the end of the day, Michigan's defense was just smothering them. Like, it would be one thing if Washington was going back and forth and able to popcorn touchdowns, this, here, there, and everywhere. But ultimately, Michigan just out punched them. And so that leaves the question that I'm sure we can have another day. The Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever the heck you want to call it, they managed to get to these these championship games, but then they lose to superior opponents. So it's sad, but it's good that the conference is kind of dissolving. But I wanted to move on into the next part of the question that I have for you guys is, Brian alluded to it. What's Jim Harbaugh doing now? And since you were the last one to talk about it, Thomas, I throw it right back to you, sir. You know, there's been a lot of speculation about where Jim Harbaugh's next move is. Obviously, the NFL is coming to call. Do you think he stays there at Michigan, or do you think he jumps to the NFL? And if so, what do you think a possible landing spot is for him?
The interesting part about it is like how it was going into the playoff. Before the playoff had started, I thought he was gone because of all of the scrutiny, the asterisks, and the 5-game suspension that he went through, 1 3-game to a 2-game suspension and having to sit out, so on and so forth. I thought he was gone because it's like dealing with all of this, and year after year, Michigan kept falling short. And didn't know if they were going to fall short or not. But now that he's actually won a championship, I heard of as today, they're trying to talk up if he can build a dynasty as big as Saban's. If he does stay, there's the possibility for him to do that. If not, there's so many openings in the NFL that he can make it happen. But I think he may just stay in college just to stay away from his brother, because I know that was one awesome thing to see in 2012, the Harbaugh Bowl. But picture him on an NFC team going up against, an NFC team going up against his brother again for Super Bowl and falling short and trying to accomplish that goal if Baltimore could get there against whatever team he may fall against. So I think that he's had his hand in a lot of these different pots and successful in building these kids' character up in Ann Arbor. I think he should stay in Ann Arbor just because they're coming off a championship and try to defend the championship. But and what I was told from like a long time ago in my life, especially in 1998, 97, money talks. So I know if they could come in the door and say something to him like a couple mil, he will be out those doors. Just think, they gave Gruden $10 million a year for 10 years straight. If he didn't mess up, he'd have been a 100 millionaire. So if they were doing that earlier, picture what they may do to Harbaugh now.
Yeah, Aaron said, friend of the program, said that, Chargers or the Raiders, you have any type of, feeling one way or the other, Chargers, Raiders? I mean, you did say you think he's going to go back to Ann Arbor, but the Chargers are already pretty set. They got themselves a quarterback. Defense is somewhat, interesting. You think he may end up in, LA with the Chargers?
Yeah, that would be the team I would pick. If he's coming to the NFL because he has a ready-made quarterback and the Chargers receiving core was injured already. So at least that's going, and he got a stout defense going already where all he needs is Bosa to be healthy. He got to know what Joey Bosa brings to the table, being a Big Ten guy, and seeing Khalil Mack, however. But that team is ready-made. It's just the coaching was upside down, and I don't like to pick on Brandon Staley after what I found out in December. Me and him have the exact same birthday, so I'm like, oh my goodness. But nevertheless, the coaching was a situation, and all he has to do is just implement a system. Hopefully, Herbert picks it up and can get out of these past 2 or 3 years of doubt that everybody has outside of California, but not inside California.
Yeah. You know what? Back to you. Breaking news. Harbaugh's next move. What do you think he lands?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think what Ty said makes a lot of sense, right? Like, do you want to chase quote unquote Nick Saban's legacy? If that's really what he wants to do, then he's got a great opportunity in Michigan. And I could be wrong, boys, but like for me personally, like I feel like this is the time for him to make the leap back to the NFL. Keep in mind, he had a great thing going at Stanford, and he decided to take the talent to the NFL because ultimately you want to see where you are against the best competition in the world. And two, remember the sanctions and the violations, that's just what we know about right now. Now people are looking. Remember this, I don't want to cross parallels because I don't want to, anybody to say like, oh, you just don't like Harbaugh, because I love Harbaugh, but this is exactly why Pete Carroll left USC. Because once they start digging, it's time to jump ship. So with that said, here's what I think. If I'm somebody that's looking, the two teams that I'd be most interested right now that have vacancies, Everybody talks about the Raiders. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care what anybody says. They can say what they want. If they offer that job to anyone but Pierce, they're fools. That team played so damn hard for Pierce coming down the stretch. I don't care that he doesn't have any experience. You know what? You can hire people that know the X's and O's. You can't train somebody to be a leader of men. And clearly those guys were willing to run through a wall for him, and they clearly were not willing to do that for McDaniels, who knew X's and O's supposedly better than anyone in the league. So that's one thing. So I'm going to just focus on the other teams. Chargers to me is 1A because, like you said, they already have so many weapons, but I don't love their payroll. The team that I actually think is very interesting, and if I'm Harbaugh, I would look at pretty closely because I think you'd get a ton of leeway and think about what a savior you would be for this particular team. How about Washington? Remember, they own the number 2 overall pick. So at worst, you're not going to get Caleb Williams, then you're going to get May. So you're going to get one of the 2 top-tier quarterbacks in this draft. You already have Scary Terry. You already have Brian Robinson. They have some pieces in place. And that organization, Sirius, as you know, because you live close to there, is absolutely desperate for a winner. And you know what? Harbaugh is the type of guy that can come in, instill leadership, instill discipline. And because he's been there before and had success and went to an NFC championship game before with the 49ers, you're going to get the buy-in from the players, both the veterans and the rookies. So to me, I think it's time to make the jump. And if I was him, I think Washington, honestly, is probably the most attractive spot when you look at cap, when you look at the pick they're going to have, what you could potentially have moving forward. Because let's keep it real. That division has had a different division winner 19 years in a row. It's not like the Eagles look extremely good. No offense, Barry. It's not like the Giants are about to start a dynasty. So all you're really contending with is 32-year-old Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. And they beat them last year to end the year, and they gave them a run for their money earlier in the year. You know what I mean? So that's the landing spot to me that makes the most sense.
Right. I wanted to get back in here. Controversy. He had an interesting opinion about where Jim Harbaugh should land. Controversy. Talk to the people, man. Where do you think he should go?
So here's my big thought on the whole thing. First of all, if the Commanders grab onto anybody but Eric Bieniemy after what he did for that offense and for that quarterback, they're fools. The same thing's true with Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. There has been reports that the two have had mutual interest, but at this point, there's nobody that should be the Raiders coach but Antonio Pierce. And if he's not the coach this year, he will be a head coach somewhere next year as he takes over the defensive coordinator job for the New York Giants. So there's a talk of Bill Belichick leaving the Patriots, but there's already been talk about him leaving the player personnel role and them getting a general manager, and that will keep him in place for 2 years until he breaks Don Shula's record for total wins for a head coach during their tenure. Kraft wants Belichick to break that record as a Patriot, but is unwilling to allow Bill to do the player personnel decisions in that capacity. So right now, with those 3 positions put in, there's the Chargers, which that ownership has been shown to not want to spend money on a head coach. There's the Carolina Panthers, which nobody wants. Nobody wants to be the Carolina Panthers head coach. Past 3 years, they've had, I think, 6 head coaches in the past 3 years. I don't even think Steve Wilkes would take the head coaching job if it was offered to him like it should have been at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Raiders, which is a Pierce move, and the Commanders, which is a Eric Bieniemy move. So I don't know where Jim Harbaugh fits in. I think he will return to college for his big salary and stay there for 2 to 4 more years and call it a career.
Right.
Okay.
Because like I said, I don't think that the money and the situation matches up for Jim in any other spot.
Yeah, I mean, my man Aaron from Nonsense and Deep Thought podcast. Shout out to them guys for kicking it with us tonight. He's honestly said that Pierce deserves that Raiders job, and I think we were all in agreement with that. Pierce deserves that job in Las Vegas, and I said this a little bit ago. Are the Raiders going to mess this up again? You know, they had a guy there. Previously, and you know they let him go and ushered in Josh McDaniels, and you know the chips fell where they may. But before we get out talking college ball, we were talking about Jim Harbaugh, and we kind of migrated into the coaching carousel. I did want to pay some bills real quick. Shout out to PHI Apparel for sponsoring today's show. Hang on a second.
This portion of our program is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company. PHI Apparel Company provides unique designs and high-quality clothing for the great fans of the Philadelphia area. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt that they'll stand out in the crowd. Act now and listeners can use the promo code CHEFS for 15% off any apparel when you shop online at phiapparel.co. That's phiapparel.co. Remember to use the promo code CHEFS for 15% off. Act now while supplies last. This portion of our program is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company. PHI Apparel Company.
Shout out to PHI Apparel for sponsoring today's show.
For the great fans of
having some technical difficulties. Shout out to PHI Apparel for sponsoring today's show, along with the rest of the shows here on Sports City Chefs, the network. Villain, I wanted to come back to you, sir. You wanted to talk about Jim Harbaugh really quickly before we transition and started talking about these coaching carousels. Talk to me, man.
Yeah, my first thought was that he would go to the pros, like this is the perfect time. And then hearing TP and his point of view, I can see where he would stay. It's really a matter of, okay, if he stays, he's saying, what, you ain't got nothing on me, right? All the cheating scandals that you want to talk about, the recruiting violations, you got nothing on me. I didn't do anything wrong. That and he wants that legacy, right? That legacy to match up with Saban and all those great coaches that have come before him. Maybe even Bo Schembechler, you know what I mean? That the great coaches at Michigan, right? If he leaves, I'm not saying he's guilty, but it's easier for the school to get past any controversy that happened on his tenure if he leaves and doesn't have to stay there and deal with the NCAA you-know-whats about all the drama that's going on there, right? So you got that kind of perspective too. The Chargers, they're not a perfect situation, but they have the quarterback that you need. I mean, you're talking about, and we'll get into it, like the Chargers, they need a GM, they need a coach. They'll probably need an OC unless they want to, bring back Calvin Moore. I don't know why you would do that if you're bringing in a whole new regime. So that's 4 coordinators that Justin Herbert's been dealing with. So is that a perfect situation? I don't know. But I agree with you guys. This is the right time for him to go to the pros because he's done everything he's needed to do at college. He went to San Diego State, made them a 11-1 team. Went to Stanford, made them a 11-1 team. Went to Michigan, brought them back to prominence. Where they thought they were in prominence, but they are now officially. So, if he wants to stay, it's really to build on his legacy. So, in my gut, if you have gun to my head, I think he stays at Michigan.
We had an interesting comment from somebody in the chat that said the Tennessee Titans.
Interesting.
The Tennessee Titans.
They'd
with
be
the
fools
fine,
to let Vrabel go.
they already did. Vrabel's gone.
He's
Vrabel's
their fools.
gone. So the Tennessee Titans become an attractive spot for somebody like a Jim Harbaugh. Breaking news, man. Since you just found out that Mike Vrabel was gone, what'd you think about Jim Harbaugh to the Tennessee Titans?
I mean, they play the type of football that he likes. He likes smash mouth. He likes lots of motion. He likes to dominate the trenches. The problem that I have with that scenario is, in the words of the great Bill Parcells, if you're going to want me to cook you a meal, let me provide the groceries. They have Malik Willis. They have Levis. You got multiple young quarterbacks that were selected either in the first or the second round in the last 2 or 3 years. Is the organization, because keep in mind, Ray Carthon, their GM, is still there. Like, are they ready to just move off these guys? Because that's an indictment on him as well. Hey, I don't think so. So I don't think it's a great fit, because I think whoever comes in there needs to be sold that Will Levis or Malik, I'm going to say Will Levis at this point because he's the starter, that Levis is the guy and that they can turn it around with him being the guy. Harbaugh is going to want total anonymity and he's going to want control. And that's why, to me, the best fit is Washington, because Washington could supply the pieces and what he wants. And they don't have a GM either right now because they literally fired Martin Mayhew. So they don't have a GM either. So to me, that just makes more sense to me personally. And I did want to say one other thing, boys. And this isn't anything towards James, but I heard many people mention this whole Bill Belichick breaking the record thing. The Patriots won 4 games this year. Do you realize if the Patriots won 5 games each of the next 5 seasons, Bill Belichick would still not break Don Shula's record? There is a very real chance that he does not break the record. Like Don Shula's record, it's in jeopardy, but it ain't in that much jeopardy. We still got a ways to go.
Right. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like my man Aaron again.
Sure. Hold on. Can I jump in on here just a second?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. If they win 5 games a year, then obviously Bill Belichick's not going to win any record. But this is all about the quarterback position for the New England Patriots. As far as the Tennessee Titans is concerned, I think this is a perfect mix for Jim Harbaugh, mostly because of the loyalty that the Tennessee Titans and that franchise and that ownership, more importantly, keeps with their head coaches. Before Mike Vrabel, it was Jim Fisher, and Jim Fisher did nothing in Tennessee and still was able to keep his job for a long time. And Levis and Willis, I don't believe either one of them were second or first round picks, even though they were slated to be so. Actually, I think Levis might have been a second round pick. I'm rethinking about it.
Yeah. Well, we will see, man. But we're going to press on. So as we alluded to, Mike Vrabel is out in Tennessee as their head coach, much to the surprise of a couple of chefs and myself included. I did not expect that to take place, especially after what he was dealing with for the past, these past 2 years were not good, but before then, I figured he had enough hay in the barn to get him through. It looks like they found themselves a legitimate quarterback now, Will Levis. You get yourself some receivers. You try to figure out a way to re-sign Derrick Henry, and you got yourself back in the thick of things. But Thomas, you've been awfully quiet up there, man. I wanted to see how you thought about Mike Vrabel being fired in Tennessee.
Okay, first and foremost, I sat in this kitchen about 2 or 3 months ago, and I got into an argument with some people that were sitting around this kitchen talking about, Thomas, you don't know what you're talking about. Will Levis ain't got it. I'm a Penn State fan. I sat up here and watched this boy throw the ball. He can't throw the ball. Well, now look at what's going on now. Tannehill's going to have his back packing. Yeah, they took their hats off. They took their hats off because this is what happened. I'm telling you, they should call me Timeless Stradamus. That's what they should call me from here on in. I'm telling you. So, it's only a matter of time that happened. Now, Mike Vrabel had to hold his team down, dealing with so many injuries, and for the past 4 to 5 seasons, it's been Derrick Henry or bust because nobody's been back there to throw the ball like he needs to. Whether Tannehill had one good season when they made the postseason and went up against Cincinnati and got their head knocked off, like what do they have to build off of? So now Levis comes in. He has a good, successful couple of starts, but he's not winning. They start winning and he gets hurt. They got to go back to Tannehill. Tannehill wins a game and they put him back down. It's like not the right consistency because they're dealing with injury or disarray at that quarterback position. And now, I don't know if Derrick Henry's pondering retirement. I don't know if he's stepping away or trying to get away from Tennessee, but this is a whole new run. So what do Tennessee do? You got rid of Vrabel, so you're bringing in a whole new coach that not only has to put his system in, he has to rebuild character. He has to believe in Levis. The guy that somebody told me that, or a few people, I'll just leave the gallery as it is, that said he wouldn't make it because he isn't the guy. He's the guy now. They believe in him down there. But if Derrick Henry's gone, who's going to be the bell cow running the ball? Who's going to really be the offense? Like it's been mentioned, they need receivers, they need tight ends. That's a revolving door at the tight end position, and that's the quarterback's safety blanket at the end of the day. So the consistency is on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to carry them. But what coach to bring in there? I have it if he doesn't go to Las Vegas or LA, and that would be William Belichick if they let him go.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
So here's the thing. I mean, Tajay's just to jump in on this just a little bit. Tajay Spears.
Are you just mentioning names? Like
is the guy to be the heir apparent to Derrick Henry?
I don't think Spears holds a candle to Derrick Henry, even if he was the feature back. I don't see that every snap and defense is focusing on him where the offense still hasn't proven themselves. Like they have to get a stud. To replace Derrick Henry is a monumental running back. That's a monumental running back. They're about to watch a Harold Campbell walk out the door.
I agree with Timeless. I like Spears, but I think it's the problem that the Titans might not pay what Henry wants. So Henry might try to get that contract somewhere else. Like I really thought if the Titans weren't going to pay him, they should have traded him to Dallas.
You should have traded him. They should have traded him. Yeah.
They should have traded him.
I'm
and
glad
Dallas
they did.
needed a running back like him. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry to cut in, but I just don't like – I agree with Timeless 100%. Vrabel had dealt with never having a franchise quarterback, losing a lot of players on that defense because of salary cap restrictions. They couldn't re-sign their own players. They had to try to rebuild through the draft. The defense that was elite started to taper off the last few years. They finally get a young quarterback, but he's a young quarterback. This is his first year. And you could see that team never quit on Vrabel. They played hard. Even the last game of the season, there was a lot of pride in that game because, Jacksonville knocked them out of the playoffs picture last year, so they returned the favor this year and did Sirius's team a favor too, right? But they played hard, and to get rid of, something happened Monday that they came to today and said, it's not going to work, and I don't know what happened. I'm trying to figure it out, but I feel it's the wrong move. I feel like it's the move that this team would typically make because they tried to make Tannehill a franchise quarterback and paid him all that money, and now they got egg on their face. So I'm not surprised that they made a move like this, even though I disagree with it wholeheartedly. I think, Brian, you're right lockstep with me and Timeless. I didn't like the move to get rid of Vrabel, and they're going to regret it. I really think he's a really good coach, and I think they're going to regret it.
Yeah, and let's not forget, boys, every time Vrabel started having success, like Timeless mentioned, they had a really good season. I want to say they were the 1 seed. They're like, what do they do? Are we going to get better? No, we're going to trade A.J. Brown. Let's trade A.J. Brown. You know what? Let's just replace him with a third-round draft pick. Exactly. Like every time Vrabel takes 2 steps forward, they kind of kicked him 1 step back. And I agree. I think he is a fantastic coach. Before he became the head coach of Tennessee, I know San Francisco was very eager to interview him as a DC. So when Wilkes becomes a head coach and we get another 3rd round pick, thank you, Mr. Wilkes. We will happily take Vrabel as our next defensive coordinator, because the previous defensive coordinator, Ryan, he probably gonna win he probably gonna win coach of the year. So, the boys who DC here, they go on to big things.
Well, it's funny because ultimately, Vrabel is a head coach, and to bring him in to be a defensive coordinator, no disrespect to anybody who's done it, is kind of a step down. Like I think back to when Mike Tomlin was dealing with the whole Brian Flores thing. Like, he's a head coach. You know what I'm saying? He has a head coach pedigree. So Mike Tomlin never approached him with the idea of being a defensive coordinator. So I think that as soon as he's able to interview and he goes and does his thing, I think Mike Vrabel will end up somewhere as a head coach. And quite frankly, around the corner where I'm at right now, Washington is a great landing spot for him. He has a great relationship with Josh Harris. He knows Matt Johnson. Again, like you alluded to, they got all the cap space in the world, the number 2 pick in the draft. There's going to be a new stadium. There's going to be a new stadium popping up here in a little bit. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I think Mike Vrabel ends up as a new coach somewhere in NFL.
Yeah, it just
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, a lot of times when you get fired as a head coach, you may have to take a stint, whether it's Wilkes or whether it's Josh McDaniels or whether it's Matt Patricia. A lot of times you have, or even Brian Flores. Like, a lot of times, Brian Flores had an outstanding season, got fired, did not get one head coaching job. Like, he may have to take a DC role and work his way kind of back into that, kind of the sexiest name on the list. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. If I had a head coaching vacancy, and I love Harbaugh, he would be at the top of my list. He knows what it takes. He can motivate men, and he's a damn good coach.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, because Atlanta is now looking for a head coach themselves, and I think that Mike Vrabel will work wonders in Atlanta now that Arthur Smith is out. This firing came as a shock to nobody. You know what? And I'm gonna come back to you. Breaking news: Arthur Smith is out in Atlanta. Could Vrabel possibly land there, or do you have another candidate in mind that could potentially go and coach Atlanta?
Yeah, this is a really young team. Like, when you think about their core. And I think Vrabel could work, but let's say that Harbaugh did go to Washington. I think Eric Bieniemy, this could be a perfect spot for him. Some of these young hot coordinators, Ben Johnson, like some of these guys that are up and coming. Look at what Steichen is doing with his squad. Like, the Eagles are so desperate for that offensive mind. It is so hard to find a guy that really understands the X's and O's. And I really think I'm probably one of the few here. I don't think it was predetermined that Arthur Smith was getting fired before the last game. But the bottom line is, when the Saints came into the game 8-8 and you came into the game 7-9, and there's a possibility you win, and maybe we're talking about you being that second-ish seed, and you get blown out by 30, like, you pretty much sealed your own fate. Like, for them, that was a playoff game. And they came out as flat as they possibly could. And no disrespect, because we know we have friends of the show that love New Orleans, but you let Derek Carr put up 48 points on you guys. Like, I mean, come on. Like, I know you weren't at home, but playing in New Orleans should be like a home game, because you play there every single year, like, at this point. So, I mean, to me, that was disgraceful, and that's why Smith got fired. But you have one of the best young running backs in Bijan Robinson. They have some decent weapons. Their tight end is, obviously, as we know, looks real good But
Mhm.
they got a lot of work to do there. Whoever goes in there is going to need to be somebody that has ties that can put together a real staff, because they have a
Right.
lot of young guys and they're going to really need to group and organize these. I think Vrabel could do wonders there, but I think Vrabel's one of the few coaches, Jim Harbaugh as well, that could do wonders no matter where he goes, because they're just leader of men.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the young talent there, because I mean we all sat there and watched Bijan Robinson get underutilized. We sat there and watched the decline, if you will, of Drake London. Kyle Pitts seems to not be able to catch touchdowns on U.S. soil. So I think whomever goes in there, needs to figure out how to get it done. I would prefer an offensive-minded coach. Because of the offensive weapons that they have around them. Like Vrabel has been a defensive guy. Harbaugh is a defensive guy. Heck, Bill Belichick, even if he gets released from New England, is a defensive guy. I would love to see an offensive guru go in there and kind of Sean McVay it up and, mix some pepper, some salt, throw some spice on it and get that Atlanta Falcons offense humming. Because, again, they got some interesting and intriguing pieces there. They're just being misused. Villain, I'm going to throw it to you, sir. Arthur Smith got, canned in Atlanta. We've talked about Mike Vrabel potentially going there, Jim Harbaugh potentially going there. Any one of those two names, tickle you a little bit, or you got some other guy that you have in mind?
I Timeless is going to be mad at me, and Hugh, breaking news, kind of stole my idea, but Ben Johnson is the hot candidate. He will not be the OC in Detroit. Somebody is going to pay him to be their head coach, and deservingly so. He's one of the best coordinators in the league right now. That Detroit Lions offense is fun to watch, and he's going to get a job somewhere. So I think Atlanta is one spot where they got some weapons that you can probably, see him going to. I think the Commanders is where he's probably going to go, because Chris Spielman's brother, Rick, is probably in the mix there. So now you got the Detroit fit there, and then Ben Johnson goes right there. So, and if they don't keep Bieniemy, I think Ben Johnson could end up in Commanderland in the DMV area. But going to Atlanta, right? 7-10. That's all you need to know. 7-10, 3 years in a row. They haven't regressed. They haven't progressed, right? You had the weakest schedule, and you lost to the Panthers. You lost to the Commanders. I mean, those are winnable games. You win those two games, you probably take the division. And you still got losses on the books to the Vikings, who aren't that great. You lost to the Cardinals. You beat the Cardinals. You beat the like I said, you beat the Bears too. You beat the Command. You win those games that you're supposed to win. They win that division. So that's on Arthur Smith. The controversy with that touchdown with Jameis Winston and the victory formation. At first, I'm like, a lot of times you're like, you get paid to stop the guys too. This is the pros, but out of that formation, kind of Bush League. But for Arthur Smith to be his lasting impression, that whole controversy kind of sums up his whole tenure. So they got weapons like you guys said, Robinson. I would probably dangle Kyle Pitts in a trade to try to move up to get your quarterback, because they sit at number 8 right now. So if you want to package Pitts, because he hasn't done anything in a Falcons uniform, you might as well dangle him, try to move up and get one of the hot quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, May, Daniel, whoever you think is going to be your guy. But it's an interesting job, but there's probably some work to be done as well.
The funny thing about it is, who's from Atlanta? Justin Fields.
Yeah, that's not a terrible idea, because we were talking about it too, and I don't know how you guys feel about it. Maybe a month and a half ago, I felt like the Bears needed to move on because they were going to get that number 1 pick. But from what I've seen the last month, I don't know if I want to move on for Justin Fields. I don't know if you can move on from Eberflus, because they played for him too. I think you're a couple defensive players, especially a defensive end. I think you're a receiver away. I think you could take those picks. You could take that number 1 pick, trade back, get Marvin Harrison Jr., get a defensive end, maybe another offensive lineman, and you know what? You're challenging. I don't think you're going to beat the Lions. I think the Lions are taking that division for the next couple of years, but you're definitely at least pushing for a playoff spot, and then you're going from there.
Right. It's interesting because Justin Fields has been linked to a lot of teams, and he's linked to Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna let that sit where it's at. Timeless, man. I'm gonna talk to you, man. Arthur Smith got ousted in Atlanta. There's been some interesting, developments as far as who could potentially jump in there and coach. I kind of want an offensive guy. Breaking news thinks that Vrabel can get it. Harbaugh is a possibility. Who do you think goes into Atlanta and gets that ship turned around? Keep in mind, the commenter did say that Justin Fields could be on the move. And Atlanta is a great landing spot for him. Talk to me.
Rest in peace to the late great Whitney Houston. She made a song called "It's Not Right, But It's Okay." They not gonna make it anyway. Pack his bag up and leave. He'd rather be alone than unhappy. And when I say that, he's been in for the past 3 seasons. They've had an under 500 record, and they didn't have no pieces there. Their first big piece that came there was B. John Robinson. They got rid of everybody from Matt Ryan to Julio. All of them pieces left. He had to rebuild as a young coach with no, just like y'all said, to bring the food in from the grocery. No food, no dishes, no knives. He had no nothing, and started off the season well, and they still had injuries. You mean to tell me Desmond Ridder is coming out of college and still was winning home games, just couldn't win on the road? He has to learn. So you're not willing to wait. They call that patience. That's something y'all better pray for. And they didn't, even think about being patient. So the crazy part is this: you're going to bring a new coach in with a young running back, no quarterback, and think that it's going to turn around next year in the NFC South, where the Bucs are trying to build consistency. The Panthers just got punched in the face all season long, and they got a draft to build off of. And the Saints are they were supposed to be the best team in the South. You guys are still going to be at the bottom. That's why I said y'all ain't going to be all right. It's like for real. Whitney said that. And at the end of the day, I think Vrabel could come in there and probably make a change. I don't think any of the big names go there because Atlanta's a lot of work, and these guys are down the road trying to get a championship, win a Super Bowl, instead of trying to fix something up already that isn't. It's a broken down shack. Like, some coaches are living for the opportunity to turn some things around. Some just want to be at the pinnacle and bring the Lombardi home. And I think Vrabel's the one that has to go there and turn that around, especially with a workhorse running back like Bijan that's similar to Derrick Henry. So I think that's feasible for Vrabel if he doesn't end up in New England, because he knows the home cooking. But the funny part about New England is, do they go with Vrabel if they get rid of Belichick, or do they still stay with O'Brien, which bothers me a whole bunch. But O'Brien has some keys to the car or know where Kraft hid the body to get a second job in New England. So it'll be interesting on the coaching situation, but they still got a lot more to do than just think the coaching is the situation in a dirty South.
Yeah. Brian, you want to say something?
Yeah, it is interesting, but the one thing I will tell you guys, because Barry mentioned the whole packaging pits. What's really going to be interesting is if Chicago decides Fields is their guy, because that's really what it all boils down to. If they decide Fields is their guy, that they don't want to start over with Williams or May, would you move down 6 spots in order to pick up, potentially an all-pro type tight end to give him like another legitimate weapon, right? You guys are talking about a defensive end. I think he needs more pass catchers. There's a reason why when you look at the games they won, Moore had like 280 yards receiving, because he's the only target they have. Like, I don't know, man. It's so hard because Ridder and Fields I'm going to put in the same boat, right? Both of these guys have showed glimpses, but they've been so hamstrung by the remedial offense and the talent around them is it really fair to evaluate where they're at, right? You look at both of these guys, like look at Justin Fields. Okay, he's put up some good stats, boys, but he's also had 10 fumbles and 9 interceptions. You're talking 20 turnover worthy plays. So you got to take that into consideration, because that's something that's going to be a major thing for any coach that would potentially take him. Like, do I want a turnover prone quarterback? And as you guys know, when you look at these running type quarterbacks, they typically take longer to develop the passing game, because they typically rely on that running game because they know they have that physical asset, that physical gift. But I totally think Chicago has done Justin Fields a disservice by not giving him weapons. I mean, who the hell is their number one running back? I think it's like Hebert or whatever. Like, that guy wouldn't be number 4 on San Fran's depth chart. Right. Like, he's playing with practice squad guys. Like, let's just keep it 100. Now, they hit the lottery, right? I don't know why, but Carolina apparently thought they were going to be good with Bryce Young. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. But they have 2 picks in the top 6. Like, they have the number 1 ticket. They have the golden ticket. Somebody is going to get Caleb Williams. And the way I look at it, if I'm them, well, shoot, man, somebody gave 3 first-round picks for Robert Griffin. We might be able to get 4. I mean, come on. Like, if I can keep Justin Fields and I'm going to get 2 first-rounders this year and a first next and a year after that, I might be interested, because it doesn't matter who you bring in there if he doesn't have weapons and the line doesn't block the way they need to. Bottom line, like Ty's right. You can't kill Ritter. You can't think, oh, if we bring in Williams, we're going to be fine. No, you got to be able to block. You got to use the running back that you drafted in the top 10. You got to you got to have a scheme that's not so vanilla that it looks like, it looks like Art Shell's calling it from the 1970s. Like, some of these coaches just like go through the motions. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But I will tell you, the one thing that's interesting is, of all these openings, if you look at what the cap analysis is for next year, Atlanta's right in the middle of the league, meaning they have the least amount of cap of any team that quote unquote fired their coach, right? Washington's towards the top. A lot of these teams are at the very top. And don't think that as a new coach, if I'm coming in, that isn't going to be one of the things that I'm going to look at, because I'm going to want to bring in my own guys. Atlanta's not going to be able to do a lot of that. They're only going to be able to maybe bring in 1 or 2 big name guys, maybe. So that is going to be something to think about. But I will tell you this, if in favor of Atlanta, if you're an Atlanta fan and you're thinking out there like, man, I don't know if a coach will take me, I will tell you right now, the Chargers are a much more talented team, in my opinion, than Atlanta. But Atlanta's division is winnable. Atlanta's division is winnable. A team made the playoffs there with a 500 record. Yeah. So you can compete in that division right away, because as we know, it is a whole lot easier to go from 6-10, 6-11 to 9-8 than it is to go from 8-8 to 12-5. So I think Atlanta is a project that could be quickly turned around with the right coach and the right staff on board.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Go ahead. I just wanted to echo what Hugh said. They got about $34 million in cap space, and they have to pay their cornerback, right? That they traded. They got to pay Okuda that they traded from Detroit, right? So a lot of that money is going to go to him. So they need picks. They need players. They need picks. Ritter's a turnover machine. I don't think you can rely on him. So they got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because at some point Justin Fields is going to have to get paid. And so if you're Chicago, do you use Justin Fields as a bargaining chip to, give to Atlanta for, a king's ransom, if you will? We had a comment that popped in that said, ultimately you got to end up paying, they got to pay the quarterback. We saw what happened with Daniel Jones and some other named quarterbacks. We dragged villain, for months about that one. But it's funny that these quarterbacks that got the bag this offseason, all besides Lamar Jackson, really didn't play well or had injury-filled seasons and didn't finish the season. So at some point you got to pay your quarterback and you got to pay. But this is gonna be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I wanted to pivot and move really quickly to the games this weekend. There's a lot of storylines that come to mind. You got Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford facing their former teams. You got Mike McCarthy facing his former team in Green Bay. There's just a ton of storylines that kind of pops up, and I wanted to see what you guys' favorite storyline going into wildcard weekend was. Timeless, I'll start with you, sir.
Am I doing AFC or NFC? You let me know.
It doesn't matter, man. Give me the funniest storyline or one that you're looking at closely as it pertains to wildcard weekend.
Okay, I love that. So the funniest one out of all of them is Green Bay versus Dallas. That's the funniest one because Dallas is a number 2 seed. They're hot at home, so on and so forth. And who is their Achilles heel in the postseason? The San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. Both of them. So picture the Packers, because I'm an NFC North guy, as you can see from the picture. Oh, thank you. So as you know, the Packers struggled out the gate. Then next thing you know, Jordan Love gets hot. Now they talking about they found a quarterback. Picture him on a weekend in January and making them people in Texas cry like the Niners did 2 years ago. Picture that happening again. Picture and knowing that everybody in Dallas, everybody thinking there's no way that they can come in and beat us. But the Packers have a run game. They have Jordan Love throwing the ball well, and they got a defensive line that could attack Dak, and they got corners that could at least stick around. And Jair Alexander I'm cooking. Back up. I'm cooking. And Alexander is good enough to stick with CD. He's good enough. I'm not gonna say he could lock him up. I ain't think he could lock him up, but he's good enough to be there to make that a legit matchup to make this game tough in Irving, Texas. So Dallas better watch out. That's the funniest one now. The one that I love. Just look at my picture. Just look at my picture. If you don't see my picture, the song is Forward Down the Field. A Lion team that cannot listen. I'll sing the whole song and turn this thing out. But Stafford comes home. He couldn't play a game in the postseason there. He's been in the postseason 3 times in Detroit, never won. And he gets to LA with the Rams and wins his 3 straight to get a Super Bowl. He's 3-3. For him to get over 500, you'd have to win it in Detroit. Detroit has the possibility to win their first playoff game, and not only their last playoff game was the last win that they had was in the Silver Dome with Barry and the boys. And that was the last season that they won 12 games. And what win total did Detroit get this season? 12 games. So that's the one that I love the most. It's unfortunate that we got to go up against Stafford, the one that I wanted to get out the doors of Detroit, but now it's like my karma's come back to me because not only did we get him out, now he's back in my face, and it's like he's a different Stafford. So it's like, can they do enough to stop Puka Nacua? Can they do enough to slow down Cooper Kupp? Can they do enough to stop Kyron Williams? Those are the things that bother me for Detroit, especially while Sam Laporte is out of the way because he's hurt. So, and I want him to rest. I don't want our NFL record-breaking rookie to go out there and risk it after an injury like that. But they said it's an outside shot, but I don't even want to push it. Just let's fight with what we got. But that's the one I love. And, you know, in the biggest picture, the biggest piece of this picture that nobody's talking about is Goff and McVay. Like, I think that was the bigger breakup than Stafford and Detroit. And what if Goff does pull this off, which I think it favors him, but what does the handshake look like? What do the media look at Goff and say, well, it didn't work in California, but it worked in Michigan? You had a California guy that fell short in Michigan. I mean, or put it together in Michigan. So we'll see. That's the one I love, and I'll be at the edge of my seat. But like they say, it'll be going down on a Sunday night.
Yeah,
Stafford finally going to win a playoff game in Detroit.
Ain't that some stuff?
There go the peanut gallery.
Ain't that some stuff, man? I tell you what.
I'm sorry, man. It's just everything looks so small from way up here at the very top.
How many wins? Wait, how many wins do you have?
I don't know. What seed are you again?
3.
Yeah,
okay. Wait, if we're gonna debate seeds, everybody here in this circle right here knows we should at least be a 2 seed at least. If I'm lying, I'm lying. We start, wait, here we go. Okay, serious. Tell me why I'm lying. Then. If you don't
we
itch,
go.
you ain't no poodle. You ain't no itch. Don't itch.
Here we
You ain't no
go. Here
poodle.
we go.
Come on, man. We ain't got another
What
2
happened?
hours here. Let's go.
I'll stop.
Yeah, man.
I'll stop. I'll stop. But like in the words of Jay Z, and there's the perfect quote at this point. Y'all know who? Do you know what? Do you know who? Repeat
Well,
that
let's
between
that
me
between
and you
me
for
and
now.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Villain, talk to me about your interesting storyline getting ready for wildcard weekend.
I mean, the games there's pretty much any game there's a back end storyline. I mean, really off the rip, how did the NFL allow NBC to hijack
Right?
their game for Peacock? How is that possible? I mean, out of all these games, I think that's the biggest storyline, the funniest one to
Yeah.
me, because it's like, I am not putting Peacock on my TV to watch this game. I'm not going to do it just out of principle. I'll be that villain because it's ridiculous. WWE couldn't get you to download Peacock. What makes you think the NFL is going to do it too? So that's a joke in itself. But really, you got McCarthy going against his old team. You got, in the D, you got Stafford that could yet again be the reason why the Lions don't win a playoff game. Like, it's crazy, right? I mean, for me, selfishly, watching cry Eagles cry Eagles cry, because they might not win this game. And I told you, serious, I told you
Absolutely.
that they are going to go into Tampa Bay and they are going to lose. I said that 2 weeks ago, and
You
the
said it
Giants
2 weeks
slapped
ago.
them around. They don't look like a playoff team. We
Mm.
don't believe you. You need more people. So that's gonna be it. That's gonna be an interesting game. So,
Mhm.
and then you got two head coaches that deservingly should be getting the head coach of the year,
Playing each other.
in Ryan's or Stefanski. And I said last week that we got a lot of views on that. Stefanski really deserves that, but you got now he's kind of moved his way up the ladder because they're a 10-win team. That Houston team was a joke. We were timeless, serious. We all were killing the Texans going into this point last year when it was Black Friday. They fired another black head coach. It was ridiculous, and it's a complete 180. What's going on in Houston? Shout out to them. CJ Stroud is that dude. He is him. He's the rookie of the year, no question about it. So that's an interesting storyline. But for me, I gotta agree. Even though I want to see Philly and Dallas lose, I gotta agree with Timeless. I think that Rams, Lions. Everybody's talking about Stafford, right? But Golf is going against the team that said, you know what, we don't think we can win with you. We're gonna trade you to Detroit. And he went to Detroit and he made them a 3 seed. They should be a 2 seed. So that's a revenge game on both sides. It's just so intriguing in Detroit what's going on with the Rams and the Lions. So that's the one for me right now.
I think for me, gentlemen, I'll keep it short and sweet. I mean, I like the Detroit Rams narrative. But for me, it has to be Miami versus Kansas City. And Tyreek Hill returning home to face his former team. The last time they played, they was in Germany. He hasn't been to Arrowhead since he got traded. The Kansas City Chiefs, like the Philadelphia Eagles, are stumbling down the stretch. Their offense looks like a shell of what it used to be. So many years we spoke about Bieniemy being the guy who pulls the strings and calls the shots, and Andy Reid is finally pulling the strings and calling the shots, but he's got guys up there who can't catch to save their life. So for me, it's going to be that Kansas City Chiefs versus Miami Dolphin matchup. Now, again, it's going to be cold. It's going to be, weather-wise, but Tyreek Hill finally returns home to the team that drafted him. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and, as opposed to, my own game. But I wanted to double click on something you spoke about with this Philadelphia Eagles thing, Villain. And the Bible says, y'all know I'm a preacher kid. The Bible says give credit where credit is due, right?
That's right.
The Eagles are in trouble.
4 or
The
5,
Phil-
man.
The Eagles are in trouble. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's the other thing. Y'all know my wife's a huge Eagles fan, and she said a couple choice words. I'll leave that off air watching the game on Sunday. They don't like themselves. You know, I'm not sure what the move was, but them going on the road and facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that's been in playoff mode for the better part of the last month. Baker Mayfield has kind of resurfaced and started playing well there. You got weapons on the outside and Edwards and Godwin. You got a Philadelphia Eagles defense who can't stop a nosebleed right now. You got offensive weapons that are hurt, can't seem to come together. And we expected a Super Bowl hangover. Like, it's very rare that a team that loses a Super Bowl finds their way back to the playoffs, let alone back to the Super Bowl. And it took about 11, 12 weeks before this hangover started popping off. And again, the commenter said they brought in Matt Patricia. Maybe, I mean, Thomas knows about Patricia as a Lions fan. We know him from the Patriots, but Matt Patricia's the kiss of death, I guess. But there's something going on with Philly, so I'm very interested to see that thing pop off. Controversy's back with us, man. What's your biggest storyline controversy that you're keeping an eye on as we get ready for this wild card weekend?
So the biggest, I think I'm with you on this one. The biggest storyline is Tyreek Hill returning to Kansas City. The other biggest storyline, since you already talked about that one, is the Eagles. The biggest slides from a 10-1 start that I can remember is showing itself as a road favorite against the pitiful NFC South champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And while everybody else is already preparing to dig their grave because of this is the first time that Philly has been kind of embracing that underdog mentality of just doing what they need to do when it becomes time for playoffs. So I wouldn't sleep on them as much as everybody else is.
I mean, they've kind of embraced that underdog mentality when they won their championship before. But there was something completely different about that particular team. And again, they're going on the road. You know, they have the weapons in place. I mean,
they don't. No, they don't. Serious. Like, AJ Brown's hurt.
Their offensive line is one of the best in football. Okay,
not this year.
I know.
Not this year. That's the problem. That's the problem, Sirius. They are not winning at the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line can't win blocks. Their defensive line can't get off the blocks. I mean, the Giants have arguably the worst offensive line in the league, and the Eagles could not get pressure on Tyrod Taylor. That's all you need to know. They are not winning at the line of scrimmage. AJ Brown's hurt. Devontae Smith is hurt. It obviously Hurts is hurt. He's hobbling with his knee. This team is in a lot of trouble. I'm telling you. I saw it.
Here's the thing. I don't disagree with the fact that this Eagles team is in a lot of trouble. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with the fact that they are limping down the stretch and may very well lose this game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they were one and done. But to sit here and say that their offensive line is not filled with Pro Bowlers and can get it done is wrong. To sit there and say that their defensive line that has been generating pressure the first half of the season and still has the same type of guys on it that can get that can move people is wrong. Now, whether they got it done on Sunday is, in my opinion, I don't say irrelevant, but that's beside the point. That's a footnote. They still have the pieces in place to get it done. Now, is Sirianni a good coach? Is Sirianni's message being lost? Is Matt Patricia not calling the right plays? Is not having a big play slay in the lineup and losing another guy an issue? Possibly. But there's the guys that were on the roster last year and got it done are on the roster this year and can potentially get it done. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to go in Tampa Bay and win because you and I seen the same thing. They're playing completely different. Like, I don't know if their hunger's not there. They're playing completely different. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pick the game now. Tampa Bay wins this ball game. Sorry, Jess, I love you. But Tampa Bay wins this ball game. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is.
See, the problem, though, and you guys can back me up or tell me I'm wrong, but the defensive line that set the record in sacks or was close to setting the record in sacks, they're not that same defensive line. They're getting pressure, but they're not getting the quarterback down. That's the problem. The defensive line had over 70 sacks last year and covered up a lot of issues with the linebackers and then the secondary. Now that secondary is being exposed. That offensive line that is supposed to be so good isn't running the football. They're not running the football. They're not protecting Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was running for his life against the Giants, and he's been running for his life the last month and a half. I know what you're saying, that the pieces are there from last year, but the pieces that were there from last year is not getting it done, and they haven't figured it out in the last 8 weeks. They have not figured it out. So I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? They should be better, but they're not, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Thomas, do you want to jump in on this, sir?
I agree with Barry. I think the front four on the defensive side carries Philly's defense. After that, the back end from the linebacking core to the secondary has been picked on, trash, and burnt bird. If anybody wants fried bird, fried chicken, or fried eagle, it's out there in Philadelphia because they are getting toasted. Just like James said, for the past 6 games, you mean to tell me that they lost 4 out of 5 of those? That's how it went down. Yeah, so they ended up 11-6. That's a bad ending to the season with the way that they just won the NFC. They lose some coordinators and some pieces, and they fall off that bad. I don't want to blame all of it on Sirianni, but something got to give. And just like you said, I know Matt Patricia. As soon as they started to give him some responsibility, they fell. They fell instantly. So they have their hands full. I'm actually undecided how I feel that game may go. But if Jalen Hurts can't get I think his winning recipe, if he can throw a pass touchdown and a rushing touchdown, they win. His percentage is high. But if he can't get there one way or another, those 2 touchdowns, I think this could be a Mike Evans and Godwin show. It could make this an interesting one on that boat in the middle of Tampa. But if the Eagles lose this game, to me, this would be the biggest collapse of a number 1 seed to the bottom of the NFC playoffs in my lifetime that I've seen that happen this bad. This is bad that at one point 6 weeks ago, they looked like they were unbeatable. Comeback wins, battle tested, winning by 1 point, going overtime against the Bills, doing all type of crazy stuff that now they're getting punched in the face by Saquon and them in the rain. In the rain, they gave up 20-some odd points. That's horrible. Especially a game they needed to win to get the 2 seed when it was on the line. They fell, not lost. They fell straight on their faces. So this is an interesting game. Not even just a must-win as a playoff. Like the morale of the Eagles is on the line here.
Right. Breaking news. Talk to me, man. How you feel?
I think what the boys are saying is correct. I'm kind of in the middle. I kind of agree a little bit with you. Agree a little bit with them. I think the bigger problem is I think that the offense still has talent, right? I think the offensive line's good. You've got playmakers. Hurts can, get the ball out. I think the issue is, which Ty just kind of alluded to it, I think Tampa Bay is going to score 30 plus. So if Jalen and company can't score 30 plus, that defense, listen, the Niners showed the blueprint. You run drags, slants, square in, anything over the middle of the field, it's like 7-Eleven, it's open 24/7. If you want to complete it, it's going to be there. And, like Ty was saying, the back end has not been great this year, but they have been able to fight back. Well, what's happening is just like we saw last year with the Vikings, and this year they're not in the playoffs. You can only have Lady Luck fall on your side so many times. They were 10-1, but of those 10 wins, 5 of them were come from behind wins. Like, you can't continue to stick your hand over the fire and not expect at some point to get burnt. And they're getting burnt now. Because when you get to the playoffs, everybody's a threat. Everybody has good weapons. Everybody's going to be an issue. But I think specifically for Tampa Bay, let's keep it real. I think Baker Mayfield is playing a little bit with house money. This is the best I've ever seen him look, including college. I think he's playing very well. And as Ty alluded to, you're talking about Mike Evans and Godwin going up against that secondary. I mean, it could get ugly. Like, really, it could get ugly. You're talking about, they have not been historically a great road team. And literally 2 of the last 3 weeks, they've lost to the Giants and the Cardinals, 2 teams that had 5 or fewer wins. I mean, no offense to Barry or Giants fans or Cardinals fan, but we're talking bottom of the barrel type teams. Like, they're beating the Eagles not because they're more skilled, but because they give a shit. The Eagles, the last 4 or 5 weeks, have literally played like they don't care. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of feel like it's ever since Hurts made the comment about some people not giving full effort. When he made that comment at the podium about certain teammates not giving the full effort. Teammates, as you guys know, we've all played sports. Everybody respects you until they feel like you're calling them out. Ultimately, that's something that should have probably happened behind closed doors. You're in the middle of a season. Yeah, it sucks that you lost to the Niners and now you're 10-2. But, dude, the season could have went way different. There is much bigger problems than just schematic on that team. And because of how the season ended and because they got no bye and it's like, boom, you're right back into another game, you don't even have time to think about that stuff. I think they're in trouble. I really do. And just to quickly touch on a couple of the things you guys had mentioned, I think Detroit and the Rams is super compelling and interesting. I think the Rams is the one team like nobody wants to play. Like, honestly, like if you think about it, they played the Ravens tough. They played the Niners tough. They play everybody tough, right? The Rams can run the ball. They've got a good offensive line. They've got 2 quality wide receivers. And Stafford has been delivering darts. Nobody wants to play the Rams, right? But to me, the most compelling game, and Barry touched on it a little bit, is to me, the 2 Coach of the Year candidates is Stefanski and Ryan. And to me right now, Ryan's got to be the front runner, even though Stefanski had to deal with more. Because to be honest with you, at the beginning of the year, I only had about 3 or 4 teams that I said they have 0% chance of making the playoffs, and the Texans were one of those teams. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody thought they were going to make the playoffs. And, he trades up. He literally pushes all his chips in and goes, you know what? I want Stroud and I want Anderson. And you know what? They both hit. They've both been good. They've, Jimmy Ward coming over from San Francisco has provided some stability in that secondary. And, if it wasn't for the fact that Stroud got hurt, 12 weeks, 13 weeks into the season, he was being talked at as a potential MVP candidate as a rookie. Mm-hmm. So, this is a super compelling matchup. It really is because, Joe Flacco is riding the ultimate high, and the Houston Texans are a team that nobody thought would even be here. Both of these teams are really playing with house money. Cleveland has a dynamite defense, but they're playing on the road. And if you look at their splits, they're not as good on the road. And, at some point, Joe Flacco and his, 38-year-old self, at some point that might catch up to you, right? Like, you can only play so many weeks in a row before it's like, okay, I'm starting to feel some of these hits. And I just wonder, because I think the Texans are just young enough and just naive enough to where, you know what, they may go in this and not even realize the stage of the moment and just snatch victory from defeat.
Yeah, I personally think the Houston Texans win this ball game for the reasons that you mentioned. I just think they're younger. I think they're hungry. And as somebody who knows Joe Flacco and this team like the back of my hand, Lady Luck is going to smile at the face of Lady Luck's going to smile on them on the Houston Texans this week. Timeless, man. Anything else you wanted to hit before you shut it down, sir?
In the AFC, it's going to be an interesting matchup, but I disagree. I think that Cleveland wins that game on the road in Houston. I really feel like this is they've already gave you those Cinderella story matchups. Because look, if Cleveland gets out of this, they could potentially go up against the Blackbirds you love so much, right? And the crazy part about those Blackbirds that you love so much, who won them a championship not about 11 years ago? Who won them one? It'd be Joseph Flacco. Joe Cool. Joe Cool will be walking back in Maryland. You want to know the crazy part? They love him in Maryland. They won't boo him. He'll be comfortable. He know the locker room. He know where water is. He know Ray Lewis statue outside. He know where everything at. They gonna be A-OK in Crab Central. So Baltimore may have their handful for their first game into the playoffs, and the Browns defense got enough to at least befuddle the run game in Houston. I don't know about the passing game because Stroud's been on his stuff, but if they could actually break up some passes, get a couple 3 and outs, all Flacco got to do is just make sure that he's turnover free and and able to score the ball. I feel like Cleveland can go into Houston and make it happen. But the momentum that Houston's on, especially after winning that division, and just like Brian said, they playing with house money. I feel like they're electric at this time, and C.J. Stroud is the price of admission at this point. But this is a Cinderella story I want to see. I want to see the move. And when I say the move, I'm old school NFL. I'm Art Modell moving from Cleveland to Baltimore. I would love to see that. And excuse me, Sports City was saying there's still people that are so mad in Cleveland. They go to Art Modell's grave and disrespect him now. And he's been gone for years. So just picture if Cleveland wins that game or Baltimore wins that game, it's going to be disgusting one way or another. So buckle up. The NFL is trying to get money.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned the idea of the Cleveland Browns potentially going to Baltimore. There's a 7 seed they may pull out a win this weekend. I'm just going to leave it at that. Breaking news, man.
Wait, hold on. Whoa.
That's all I'm saying.
You don't get to pivot off of that. You don't get to pivot off of that.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet.
Okay. Wait. Did you wait? Hold on. So if you feel that confidence on a level between 1 through 10, how confident you think y'all gonna get out of Buffalo, and it's a 10-point spread?
I think it's about a 6. I mean, we can go in there and get it done.
You saying over 50?
6?
Have you been watching Buffalo play?
I know.
Yeah. That's my problem.
Wait. No TJ Watt? And no TJ Watt?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
I'm about to beat you like a redheaded stepchild, man.
I watch Buffalo play, and Josh Allen is not that guy.
He's
my
God. Come on, man. The slander with that guy, man.
Oh my God.
I've seen that man throw,
Hey, listen.
I've seen that man throw so many Olay balls and YOLO balls.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He threw 400 yards against the Dolphins in Miami on the road to win the division.
Here's the thing. I'll be here next week. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if it's a beating, I'll take my lumps.
Listen, I'll take the points. I'll take the points. Hey, you ain't winning in Buffalo.
I'm not taking the points.
I'm not taking the points. Yeah, I'm not taking the points.
Hell no.
Listen,
you're gonna lay the points.
Hell yeah, yes sir.
Yes,
sir.
Hey, listen, serious. If you said anything other than you thought your squad was going to win, you wouldn't be a fan. When the Niners were 2-13, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, they're going to go in and win that next game. So you got to say that. And I will tell you, they do look better with the backup quarterback at the helm. So you know what?
Yes.
Kudos.
Yes.
Kudos. Hey, by the way, Atlanta, maybe you can have Kenny Pickett next year. But, if you think Bills Mafia is just going to lay down for you,
I don't think they're going to lay down.
Tough, man. That is going to be a tough game.
Listen, hold on. Listen, the way that you would have a shot. the way that you would have a shot is if TJ was able to apply pressure on Josh Allen. He's not there. All you got is Highsmith to go get him. That Highsmith by himself in New York, yo, he might as well go get some Red Hills and call himself Dort. Yo, y'all, there is no place like home. There is no place like home.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is serious, because you did mention the way that you guys could win, and I think that is Josh Allen trying to play hero ball. The problem is, if you look at the last 6 or 7 weeks, they got this cat named James Cook. He's gonna be a problem.
Yeah,
he's gonna be a problem.
Yep.
He's gonna be a problem.
It went from
he's
they
gonna
didn't
run
have
for like a
$140.
$140.
Yeah, it went from they didn't have a running back. They desperately needed Saquon Barkley to they got a Pro Bowl running back in Buffalo, and he's a damn good back.
Right now, I want to answer these questions right now, serious, real quick. Who y'all got to beat Stephon Diggs right now?
Joey Porter Jr.
Yo, I quit. I'm done. I quit. You
better hope he holds like he did in college.
Right.
You better hope he holds.
Right.
You better hope he drags him down.
I can't even ask the second question. I can't even ask the second question. I'm done. I don't know.
You know what?
I said what I said.
So Joey Porter can cover Diggs.
Yeah.
Come see me next week.
All I'm saying is we've been trashing him all year long. Gabe Davis might even have a big game.
But I was going to go there. Wait, Brian, I was going to ask that. But once he said Porter for Diggs, I was like, forget it. That's enough. I'm done.
Now, but do you guys real quick? Do you guys think Green Bay can pull the upset in Dallas or no?
I think they could.
It ain't. I don't think. I know they can. I know.
The defense scares me. The defense.
Here's what Green Bay needs, because they're a young team. If Green Bay can get a lead early, right? Like, let's say they get the opening kickoff and they go 75 and put up 7. Love just needs to get a little bit of confidence and quiet that crowd a little bit, because if you've looked over the course of the last 5 or 6 weeks, that cat gets in a rhythm and he is lights out. But when you get him a little frazzled, he's a little squirrely. But if he gets in a rhythm early, if I'm Dallas, I'm going to be nervous the whole game. Because here's the reality that nobody wants to admit to. Dallas can't run the ball to save their life.
Yep.
Dallas can't. Dallas is horrible in the red zone.
Yep.
And Dak is a great quarterback when he has a lead. Those are the 3 things you need to know about Dallas. So if Green Bay gets a lead, because like Ty said, Green Bay actually, for a 7 seed, they can run the ball.
Right.
They can throw the ball and they can play some defense. So it'll be interesting if Green Bay can hang with them, let's say for a half or 3 quarters, it's going to get a little dicey. They're going to start having those memories of, oh man, this seems an awful lot like when San Francisco came in here 2 years ago. Maybe we should do one of those trick plays where Ezekiel Elliott hikes the ball and everybody stands by the sideline. Like, you'll see some weird shit. So that's what I would be worried about if I'm Dallas, right? Dallas is very comfortable playing with a lead. They haven't shown when they hit adversity, when they get punched in the mouth, that they can come back and play.
Because I look at the team that got beat by the Dolphins. I look at the team that got beat by the Bills. I'm looking at the team that got destroyed by the 49ers. And I'm saying if that team, if it's tight in the fourth quarter, Dallas is in trouble. You can run right at them. Their linebackers are 100 pounds soaking wet, and that's a problem. And Dak has played really well this year, but if you need Dak to really force it and make plays, he gets into trouble. And then this is what kills me too, guys. Greenwood, he said he picked the pack to win the game. He said he picked the Lions, Eagles, and Pack. And then he comes back, we them boys, Cowboys versus everybody. What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about, controversy? Get out of here.
That's just because James has got to rep his new favorite team. You know, now he can't pick the Jets no more. Now he's a Cowboys fan. So now him and Dak, they got a selfie.
He was a Lions fan first.
No, he can't even claim that. He can't even claim that no more. Once you jump off, there's no room on the bandwagon to come back. You can't come back. Hey, it's like Hotel California. You can come, but you can never leave. Yeah, so like once he walked out, that's it.
But it's like TP. It's like that song Jay-Z said, "It never changed, man. It's convenient amnesia. I know the procedure." Like you just said it.
Right.
You just said the pack. Now you're talking about we didn't play. I'm done.
He's right.
I'm
Listen,
done.
he's
I'm done.
definitely right, though. Either the Packers or the Cowboys are going to win.
You
For
know what?
sure.
There you go. There you go.
Put your money in. Which one of those two wins? Put your money in. Which one of those two wins?
Just put 10 on each team. You'll be a winner either way.
You can't lose. Can't lose.
Sure.
Oh,
Gentlemen, this has been fun, man. Good to have you guys back in the building, man. Breaking news. Give us a plug and a close out as we shut it down this evening, sir.
Yeah, the one thing that I'd like to say, because I know you guys are going to rep the the merch, you guys are going to rep the everything else. I just want to give a shout out to all the men, women, the family members that make these shows possible. We got to see Barry's beautiful girl earlier, but our wives, loved ones, obviously sacrifice a lot for us to be able to put this content out for you. Shout out to Serious Villain, Timeless, who's literally still recovering from injury and made it here. Controversy, to everyone. I appreciate you guys. It's a new year, a new look, and I look forward to doing more podcasts with you guys next week.
Thank you so much, Breaking News, man. Greatly appreciate you coming through, man. You're welcome anytime. The door is always open. Timeless, man, you know what to do, man. Give us a plug and a close as we shut it down, sir.
Reporting live, Timeless Shadamas. I've been telling these dudes for months, weeks, days, decades. I'm telling you, I've been around it all, man. They didn't want to listen to me, but I have people that have been telling me, Will Levis ain't nothing. So what, he from Connecticut? I'm going to tell you, I seen him in the middle of Happy Valley doing this. Rocky Marciano. I'm like, wait, what? I'm trying to tell you something.
Turn his mic off, man. Turn his mic off.
Wait, that was you. See what they do to me. They don't interrupt Brian. They come and get me. You know what I'm saying? And I put the statue down. But you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed their week, man. It's kicking off January. It's playoff Christmas. It's about to go down. I'm sweating bullets for the matchup, man. Hopefully we get out of Detroit with a victory. I feel bad for the people that have to go to Western New York and try to play in the black and gold. Shout out to the Big Blue out there in Jersey that beat Philly. They did their job past Sunday. I was just hoping that Dallas fall, but unfortunately the Commanders couldn't get it done. But man, I really can't wait for Saturday to see how it all start unfolding and seeing who can advance to the divisional and get ready for these championship games and make this one bloody January, man. On that note, tell a friend that it's the Chefs again, and if they don't know, now they know.
Thank you so much, Timeless. Thank you so much. Villain, you know what to do, man. Give us a plug and a close as we shut it down, my guy.
Man, I thank you, Controversy, Brian Hughes. Great to see you. TP, I miss your voice, man. Miss doing shows with you guys, with all you. So, thank you for the birthday wishes. I agree with Brian. Everybody behind the scenes that make this thing work. Mr. Harvey. Shout out to Dave. Shout out to Alan that runs the Twitter X, whatever. But everybody that does a little bit or a lot to make this thing pop. We got a lot of plans. We're doing it big this year. We're gonna push forward. Like I said, thank you for the birthday wishes. It's been a bittersweet day. It's the first birthday without my father, so it's kind of a day, but it's a day. You know what I mean? So it's just blessed to be here and blessed to do this show with you guys. So make sure you get to the website. Shout out to PHI Apparel. We're gonna get our website going. I got plans for that, so I'll be in touch soon. And look out, we got another show Thursday, special finger food live on StreamYard and on Facebook and on YouTube channel with New York Giants fangirl talking about the New York Giants. So shout out to Adriana. She agreed to do a show with us. So we're doing big things, man. We're gonna make it work, man. I appreciate you guys having me, and on to the next one.
Thanks, Villain, man. I greatly appreciate it, man. It's your boy Sears repping that 412 and the 703, man. I love being able to do this show with you guys every week. You know what? It's about the brotherhood for me, man. We talk sports, but when one's down, we all go down and pick them back up, man. And I love seeing Breaking News back in the building. I love seeing Timeless back in the building. Even Controversies, Goofy behind. Love seeing him back in the building. Harvey, we miss you, my guy. we'll catch up with you guys on the next one, man. But with that being said, TP said it like this, man. Tell a friend, it's the chefs again. And if you don't know, Steelers gonna shock the world. I said what I said, man. Y'all be good, man.